the Writing in Your Jammies podcast. I'm your host, Jeannie Hall, and I'm pursuing my dream of writing in my jammies for a living. By discussing some of the spiritual teachings that have put me on the road to success, I hope to inspire you to feel better, live happier, and pursue your own dreams. Join me. Hello, and welcome to the Writing in Your Jammies podcast. This is Jeannie Hall, your host, and today our discussion is going to be about alignment. This is podcast 7. So today I'm going to talk about a bad day that I had at work. And yes, I do still work a full-time job outside of my author, podcast, blogging business. So I'm an assistant manager in a retail environment, which is pretty stressful and lots of stuff to do. I work lots of hours a week, and that's part of the reason that I'm trying to get my business going so I can do that instead. So I had a really bad week recently where the store manager was out on vacation, so that meant all of her duties basically fell to me. Or most of them. So I had a lot on my plate, and then a lot of things went wrong, as you may have had happen to you as well. That when someone's out and they can't be there to handle things, sometimes it just seems like the universe conspires to make more stuff happen to us. But the interesting thing is I don't actually see that as a negative now, looking back at it. But I'll get to that in a second. So what I felt, the reason I entitled this podcast Alignment, was because being in alignment with our wishes and desires and our dreams means that we will get them. You know, the law of attraction means basically that, you have to have everything in alignment. And if things are not in alignment on an energetic level and on a spiritual level, then things will not come to you like you want them to. Well, part of alignment can sometimes be physical. Now, after working that week, and I had worked several days in a row, which I have to do on a regular basis, there's many times that I work 7 days straight. And any of you guys who've worked, any kind of job, especially one where you have to be physical and you have to be responsible for a lot of things at once, and there's a lot of stress involved, you just get to the point where you're physically exhausted, you're mentally and emotionally exhausted. And that's where I was that day. I'd been a lot of days, I'd been emotional, I was in a lot of pain. I have back issues where I have curvature of the spine or scoliosis, so it was acting up again, so I had a lot of neck and back pain, and it was also causing me to have a pretty ferocious headache. And any of you guys who've had to work with pain, especially prolonged pain for a long period of time, it wears you down. It wears you down to the point where you wouldn't respond as well as if you weren't in pain. And stress becomes worse, and everything just has a darker cast to it. Everything feels worse and less happy than it would if you weren't. And stress is able to get to you easier at that point. So that's where I was that particular day. And I'd been tearful a couple times, trying not to lose it at work, that kind of stuff. And because my job requires so many hours, it's not like I could just go home early, and knock off, or, like some jobs you could just say, this sucks, I'm going to go home. I couldn't do that because I was still the only person there that was a senior manager, and I had all these hours that I'm required to get in every week, and I just couldn't. Or I felt like I couldn't. So I decided, though, the day was so bad that, I was actually, thinking about quitting. I just thought, I don't care if I lose my house. I just need to quit this job. This is just too stressful. It's been stressful for 6 years. I can't do it anymore. And I really was considering that. That's the bad place I was in at that time. And even other people who know me as the cheerful Jeannie at work, the person who tries to be inspiring and positive to all the other workers, everybody was like, oh, that day, though, you were really off. So They noticed it too. I couldn't hide it. So that day when I got off of work, I went ahead and made a decision to make an appointment with the chiropractor. Now, I've had chiropractic care back whenever I was in my 20s, which has been about almost 20 years ago. And at that time, it helped me dramatically with my back issues. And it was wonderful. And the reason I quit going was because insurance had been covering it and then it stopped. And anybody who lives in the United States knows that our healthcare system is kind of a mess. And insurance doesn't cover a whole bunch of stuff that it needs to cover. And so what ends up happening is people just go without care because they don't feel like they can afford it financially. And that was where I was then. And so I just quit going. But I was in a pretty good place with my back, so I wasn't that worried about it back then. Well, fast forward to almost 20 years later, and I'm now in a more physical job, a more stressful job, and I hadn't been in years and years, and my back was just tearing me up, basically. So I went and made a decision that even though it wasn't going to be covered by insurance, and even though it was going to be out-of-pocket costs that were not going to be cheap, I made the decision that I am worth it, that I am worth being pain-free, or at least having less pain, by doing something that I know, because I've had it before, I know would work. I know chiropractic care works for me beautifully. So I knew that it might be a challenge. I knew that my income hadn't increased any, but I needed to do this financial, output of money with this chiropractic care. I knew that, but I made the decision, you know what? I'm just going to value my own health and my own body and honor the fact that I'm in pain and that I cannot do the job that I'm supposed to do. I can't even function or sleep or a lot of things because of the pain I'm in, and I don't deserve that. So I'm going to go ahead and trust that God and the universe is going to help me and take care of me and financially fix this so that I can go to the chiropractor and be out of pain. And because that day that I was in so much pain, all these bad negative thoughts were going through my head, reinforcing beliefs that I've had for years. And if you're like me, maybe you had a belief, like I personally grew up without money. Money was always a struggle in my family. And so I always grew up with the belief that, well, my family doesn't have money, so that means I won't have money either. And I never have in my adult life, not much money. So, and I always had the belief that money comes from a job, that you go and work for someone, because in my own family, it was a self-employed type of business, but it was never very successful. So because of that, I felt like that was scary and dangerous to go into business for yourself, and that, well, you can't make money if you go into business for yourself. The safe thing to do is go work for somebody. But anyone from Enron can tell you that that's not necessarily a safe bet either. There really is no job security in this world. So, that's a big deal. And I finally started looking at my beliefs around my career, around my work, around money, and around employment and self-employment and all those kinds of things, business. And I really realized that I had all these fears tied to money and business and success. And that was part of the reason that I'd never tried. Even though I'm an author, even though I've written 6 books, I still had this terrible fear about going into business for myself because I felt like it wouldn't be safe, that I'd never be a success if I went into business for myself. And obviously that's not true. There's tons of people, there's thousands of people who are in business for themselves. The self-made millionaires and billionaires even. Lots and lots of people. And not saying that it's easy or that it's overnight for sure, but to think that it wasn't possible for me was something I had to look at for myself. So I went ahead, again, back to the chiropractor. I make this decision to go to the chiropractor. Well, I go ahead and go on my next day off. And I get there and I looked at their website, and part of the reason I chose them is because they had a payment plan option, because I knew insurance wouldn't cover any of it. So I do their payment plan. I go. The chiropractor is wonderful, and I get adjusted for the first time in years and years, and it feels so much better. Instantly, my headache is gone. instantly my back feels better. Now, I have a condition that's bad enough that was the pain completely gone after one adjustment? No. But was it better? Yes. So much better. Like noticeably better. And it gave me, I think it was two things. The alignment itself physically aligned me better, my spine, literally, so that I felt better and pain was greatly reduced. So that was one form of alignment that really helped. The other form of alignment that really helped was the spiritual, energetic alignment. And that alignment was by making the decision to trust the universe and God that He would take care of me financially, that everything would be okay, and that taking care of myself was a worthwhile investment, I was able to align better energetically with my goals and spiritually. I was showing God that I trusted in the universe, that I trust that you're taking care of me. I trust that the money is coming, and it doesn't have to come from my current stressful job. Some of it may, but I trust that more money is coming from other places that I may not even know exist right now, but I trust that it's coming. I trust that it's there. And by basically doing what my mentor Kelly Cooper says, put your money where your mouth is, by saying, no, I believe this. I trust this. I'm making this decision with the belief that the money will come and that it will be there and it will be okay. So I did that. So those two forms of alignment really, really changed my outlook. The next day, after I had one day off, I had to go back to work. And when I went back to work, I was a totally different woman. I mean, everybody was like, wow, you're different today. You're back to yourself today. You look better. So, everybody, I think, just kind of thought I was sick, but really I was just in a lot of pain. But the amazing thing was that I felt better than I have in weeks. And this is coming from someone who, I work on myself spiritually all the time. I listen to spiritual podcasts. I do affirmations, visualization, meditation. I do all those things that many spiritual people do. And I've been working on being more positive. But what I realized is that I needed that bad week. I needed that bad day, that last day of working continuously, that pain, weepy, giving up hope, feeling despair. I needed all that to show me what I needed to do. It was making it blatantly clear that I needed to make a change. And so when I made the decision to make the change, even though it felt bad, or it didn't feel bad, it felt risky. That decision to go to the chiropractor, even though I didn't have the money to pay for it, even though financially I'm still strapped, making the decision to trust, even though the evidence wasn't there before, basically energetically aligns me with a better future, financially and business-wise, career-wise, success-wise, because I'm showing the universe and God, I believe you. I believe that I'm worthy. I love myself enough to take care of my body and to not let it suffer. I trust you enough to know that everything's going to be okay money-wise, finances-wise. You're going to take care of me because I'm taking care of myself. I'm doing the right thing for me. And it was very, very powerful. And I felt that next day afterwards, after having the adjustment and then going to sleep, having a good night's sleep, and then going back to work, it felt totally different because I knew that I had made a major stride forward in an energetic way. And so when you're in those dark places, when you're really feeling pain or suffering or doubts to the point where you're emotional or you're angry or you're weeping even, and you just don't see a way out and everything looks like it's all clouds and darkness and horrible future coming at you, look at that closely. That is the universe or God or source or your higher power or whatever you want to call it, trying to give you a message. What that is communication from your higher self, trying to guide you. So let your guidance guide you. Let your guidance show you the way. And I'm not saying it's not painful, and it may feel horrible at the time, but look at that. Don't be afraid of it. Take a step back, take a deep breath, and look at why you're feeling this way and what can you do to change it. So in my case, what I could do to change it was to change my alignment in two different ways. Literally, physically, my back alignment, my spinal alignment, getting an adjustment from a chiropractor, but also the trust alignment. I had to get into alignment with my own trust of God and the universe and just believe that He is there, that the universe is there always, and that it always wants the best for me. And it wants the best for you too. So if you're going through a really bad time like I was, if you're going through, whether it's a really bad financial time, maybe it's a really bad career time, which is the two that I've been dealing with. Maybe your bad time is with a relationship, a friendship, or a romantic relationship. Maybe it's a marriage not doing well. Maybe it's some other thing. Maybe it's a health ailment, which also had something to do with mine. It could be any number of things. Maybe it feels like your whole life is falling apart. Whatever that is, look at it. Look and see where you are and see what decision you can make that would make it better, that would feel good to make a change. And it's funny, I was doing a Facebook Live video earlier, and one thing I said on that was that, it feels, you need to make a decision. When you're in that dark place, you need to make a decision that is not super huge. So like when you're broke, and especially if you're super financially struggling, like maybe you don't know how you're going to pay rent, maybe you don't even have a home or a car, or it could be really bad. Whatever that, or maybe it's just your fear you're going to lose everything. Whatever that is, when you're in that place, make a small change, because a big change is not going to feel real to you, at least most of the time. For most of us, if you're in that really bad, scary place, then just saying a bunch of affirmations about, I'm going to get $1 million tomorrow, that's not going to work probably, because you're not really going to believe it no matter how many times you say it. If you're struggling that badly, it's going to be hard for you to believe that. So make a small change. It does, in my case, it was just making an appointment, a doctor's appointment with the chiropractor. That's all it was. But I made the decision knowing I didn't have the finances in place, knowing that, how am I going to, last time I went to the chiropractor, I had to go 3 times a week, and I work a bunch of hours a week. So I was like, how are you going to have time? That's why I hadn't made it before. It was the finances and the time. How are you going to work this around your job? I just made the decision. I'm going to work it. I'm going to make it work. And I did. So now I have a chiropractor that I see twice a week. I've been able to work it around my schedule. And it's almost like a miracle on how much better I feel and how much faith it's restored in my life, in my heart, that I know I can feel God supporting me through this. So make some small decision that will make a difference for you in your personal situation. You actually know which way to go, even if you don't think you do. Be quiet with yourself, whether that's prayer or meditation, and let the answers come. Let yourself cry, let yourself be angry, but after that, listen, because the answers are already there if you listen for them. Okay, well, I hope that this has helped even one person out there. If I help even one person, I feel like that's a big enough difference. And so I hope that this helps you, and if it does, please share it with others. I am on Facebook, Twitter. Check out my website, writinginyourjammies.com, and my podcasts are on there, and as well as iTunes and Stitcher and Podbean. Check those out and help someone else out with their struggles as well. And I hope that if you are struggling, that your day gets way better after hearing this, or after something good comes into your life. So take care and have a great day.
I truly appreciate you taking time out of your day to listen listen to this show. You can learn more about the topics discussed on this episode at my website, writinginyourjammies.com, and at my Amazon author page, keyword Jeannie Hall. Remember that you are worthy of all good things. You are purely